fuck off, will you? Fresh, yeah?
Shut the fuck up!
Welcome. Hello. Hello, everybody.
Lesbians.
Welcome to Fresh Batch episode 6 with me, myself, Ray Corcoran, a.k.a. Sparky, Dean Scurry. Yup, Scurry. We have our good friend, Ryan Lincoln, a.k.a. Linko, actor, musician, vibe creator. Episode 6. This has been an amazing journey for me and Dean, and we're just delighted to have Ryan in the space today. And yup.
Delighted to be here, lads. It's an honour. How's your acting agent skills, Dean?
Mine are grand, actually.
Managerial, do you know what I mean?
What I say to people is, what's unmanageable that you need managed?
Give Dean a shout.
No. That's get me work. That's a different thing. That's a booking agent. So have a think about it. Stuff needs to be managed. Well, if stuff needs to be managed, do it yourself. But I'm so busy, it's unmanageable. I'm answering the phone. I'm booking gigs. I'm out the door. I've done 50 jobs this month. Do you know what I mean? Then you need someone
to
or
manage.
a number of people to manage those.
All the aspects.
So what part of what you're doing is so busy, it's unmanageable that you can't do it yourself. Because basically what we've learned from technology is we can do it all ourselves.
100%.
It's just having the knowledge, the motivation, the insight, not being afraid to fail constantly, like consistently fail. And I think you're learning that failing is not just a thing that happens occasionally. Failing is mostly what you do in your line of work.
In your life, probably.
Yeah, in your
life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be, but it's specifically in acting. Failing is what you do.
100%.
You're going to auditions, you're trying to put yourself into an environment where you can potentially get some work, but when you don't get the work, you're like, that's all right. That's par for the course. I'm all right with that. Whereas at the start, you were probably going, oh, I need to get this to prove myself to myself and to other people. And if I don't get it, I'm a failure.
So I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, do you know what? I've nothing left to prove to myself anymore. There is a bit of that. It's like you want to show you can do this. So, you know what I mean? You want your work to be seen and you want it to be kind of received well. And then all that kind of goes out the window, and then you'd be just looking at what you've done yourself. And then I'm like, do you know what, man? I've kind of done a few different roles. I've done death scenes. Do you know what I mean? I kind of covered it, ticked a lot of the boxes. So I'm like, it took me 8 years to be like, right, you've nothing to fucking prove.
Like, I remember when you were younger, you and Jer Kellett ran a studio in Finglas.
Fifth Element Studios.
What was it called?
Fifth Element Studios.
Yeah, and I think the sign is still there, by the way, up in Finglas. But one of the things that struck me about it was like, and I'm always talking on this podcast about punk. It was a real punk ethos, but I think you's had that ethos, whatever that DIY ethos is, that you just said, fuck it, we're going to do it, right? And you just went and did it. Now, it didn't last that long because I think the rent got too high or something. Or.
It just wasn't busy enough, do you know what I mean? It was kind of, so it's the balance between, like, is it the business or, like, is it just the creative space, do you know what I mean? And it's a hard kind of balance when
it's hard. It's hard when you're doing the creative space, right? And you're trying to fund it, you know what I mean? And then, because I think the dream is for that to fund your life. Like, I mean, so for you to be an actor and for you to do Ken and to do all those shows, then that funds your life. I think that's the dream.
That is the dream.
The problem, I think, what happens then is that the mortgage is, April, I need the mortgage in.
Oh, do you know, like, and that's it is the dream, but it doesn't always end up being the dream. Do you know what I mean? For everyone, but I'm still in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm still going for it.
And like, we know you well. Like, I know you well. I'm in touch with you. You're in London. Like, I have friends who are actors, and like, I have one good friend who was an actor, and she worked in Thunder Road Cafe for years. Like, and people would say to me, I was in there, and I was talking to her, and she's like, I didn't realise that she was a waiter in there. Like, and I was like, there you go. But I was talking to you, and one of the deadly jobs that you did in London was you drove a van around London, and I was saying to you, you're gonna know that place, man. You're going to know it.
I know it well. I was there about a year, and I'm still kind of back and forth a little bit, so I know it well, lads. Like, I'd be talking to people from London, like, have you checked out there in, like, Canary Wharf, the Big Easy spot me and Dino went to, and they're like, no, you know what I mean? And it's like, here's a lad from Ballymun that fucking, I soaked the place up.
I went to London recently for a gig and to see Echo and the Bunnymen it was actually 5 years ago, in the Albert Hall. And I went with two mates, right? So one mate lived in London and he was penniless, right? So he knew London overground. He walked London everywhere, right?
Yeah.
The other guy was over there doing business and he had a few bob and he knew London underground. So it was amazing being with the two of them because like during the day I'd be with Brian and he would be like, he'd be walking from market to market and different, you know. And there was all these names of places that I had heard before and never been, and he found them overground. And then we'd have to go to a gig. Like we went to see out the Victoria Park to see a festival, you know, and there was deadly bands, Ian Jury's son, Braxton Jury and all. What a day, like, you know what I mean? And but we went out by tube, and Joe knew the tube. Like he was saying, lads, we're going to go from here to here. We're going to jump on there. And then another person that I learned from was Damo, because on that trip I went up to see Damo. Damo was up in Kilburn, Kilburn as he calls it. And what happened was, I came up to this tube station, like, you know, and then I had to go back to somewhere else, you know, and he was able to tell me, get on here, jump off there, and it was amazing that people understand that whole system, you know what I mean? And there was, like I said to me, mate, I was up in, let's say it was called Nighttown or something like that, you know, I was up in Nighttown, he's like, there's no such tube station. I'm saying to him, man, Joe, and I said, no, I was in it, like, you know, but seemingly it's a brand new tube station that used to be a bridge, and they just made it. They made a station, and it's not a tube station. Actually, it's overground. But I was blown away by it. Like, you know what I mean? How I mean, obviously London is vast. Us Dublin is like,
but it's not that big. Once I realise when you get there, it's big, but it's before you notice it. Like, it's like there's big spots. Do you know what I mean? And like once you know how to get to them, you can more or less navigate anywhere. So you know how to get to Liverpool.
Yeah, Camden
Street.
is not moving. If you learn that there's a tube network that has a number of coloured stops
Exactly.
or lines, you're all right.
You're all right.
But I find that I done the markets with my girlfriend a couple of months ago. We went
Yes,
in February and we
seen you
met. That's when we hooked up with you.
Yes, sir.
But we done the markets, we done the parks, we done the overground vibe. It's steady. So come here, you started this with acting, manager. What I was trying to say to you was it's all within your grasp, but then you came in with, you've started to realise that you're no longer doing it to get the value of who you are or to please other people. So you're at an interesting place now. So what do you do for? Where's the where's the hunger? What's the fight?
What's it for?
now?
What's it for? No, I'm figuring it out. Do you know what I mean? That's I'm right there. Do you know, like it's like there's doing something for the love of it, which I think will always be there. But then it's like
There's doing something for the money of it.
there's something for the money of it,
And that's
then
not always there.
it's not always there. And then where do you find the balance with those kind of things? You know what I mean? And then sometimes can the pursuit of the money take away from the love of it then? It's just all these questions, do you know what I mean? But for me, the reason I got into acting, I always wanted to be involved in film as long as I can remember. Like so when you're like a kid, you're like, what's the acting? Like film is acting, do you know what I mean? That's the part you see is the acting. And then the older I get, it's like, oh, directing and all. And then you realise that it's all just expressions, you know what I mean? And then it's just like, some people just have things that they do, and for me, I think like the film and the acting is one of them. So it really isn't about the money. That's what I've learned. You know what I mean?
You need to be able to pay
Absolutely
the rent.
So like Sparky said, it's usually what waitress job or barista job are you doing on the side.
Is that difficult, or is that humbling, or is that just reality?
It's just reality, but I was only chatting to my mate about this yesterday actually, because he's an upcoming actor as well, and he's like that he's at the point where he's like he needs to get a job and he doesn't want it to take away from what he has to do. And I'm just saying, bro, if you love it enough, you'll have to do that. Like fucking watching interviews of even as Christopher Nolan, that film Oppenheimer, and he started in the same place. It's gas, you know what I mean? He was just starting in the exact same place, working full-time jobs, funneling that in, shooting maybe once a month over a year to put together a film. So it's just really about what you're passionate about, you know what I mean? And passions
Is there a
change.
fear there though as well? I remember working with the rappers, and their kind of fear was, I'll turn around, I'll be 35 and I'll be still rapping and not getting paid for it.
Well, you're an old rapper at that. You're a young
But you're
actor.
not. But in acting, you're all right. Like,
Lads,
you know,
I went to see a play in Axis with the young people. We were doing a podcast with the young people, and we went to see a play, and it was about homelessness. But so it was a weird one because it was an older guy in his 60s who was an actor, and who had his day job was the tour guide. But his play
definitely.
was called The Confessions of an Irish Tour Guide. What happened was he lived in a flat on Capel Street. city centre. Then he reached 60, like, and then the flat was sold off to a vulture fund, and he was homeless. And he was homeless at 60, and he wasn't homeless because he was a gargler or he was a drug user. It was a whole different set of circumstances, right? And at one stage, he goes to his brother-in-law and he says to the brother-in-law, "Can you help me out? Like, you have a garage. Can I stay in the garage even?" And he's like, "You should have made a plan, you know." And I'm thinking, like, I never made a plan. I always fell on my feet. Like, I own a house because I was part of a co-op. We kind of worked together and we created 26 homes. I wouldn't have that house without, that whole thing happening. There was a regeneration in Ballymun. I don't believe in luck. And I don't know what I believe in, to be honest with you, but I don't believe in luck. I don't think it, I don't believe in chance either. I don't believe in, that kind of stuff. But I do believe that the stars align, that something does happen.
Do you believe in the other one, which is like determinism, as in it's all determined?
Pre-planned.
It's already planned out already.
No, okay, so
it was written.
I'm not sure that if I believe in that, but what I do believe in is I'm not in charge. When I'm trying to do what I want to do, it goes. And I'm going to tell you this, right? If it's something that happens
unmanageable,
to me, it becomes unmanageable.
It goes fucking tits out, bro.
But I tell you one thing that happened with Ryan, right? Myself and Ryan I was part of a crew who made a film with Ryan, and it's called Sweetheart, and it's a short film, and we came up with the idea, but the script that was written isn't the film that was made, and the reason why was this man here was well able to just go, let it go, let it off, and I found that really difficult at the time when I seen it happen. I was like, but that's not in the script, and he's like, let it go, and it was amazing, and it's actually, I took it with me then, and there's times like I'll be doing podcasts with young people here in the area, and it doesn't go the way I want it to go. I recorded one today with young people, and it didn't record. The woman who was on the desk rang me, and she was really apologetic, and I was like, shit happens, like, it does, and it wasn't meant to be. Before I would have been in my head, I would have lost sleep over that. I would have been annoyed. I would have been blaming myself, and but now I'm saying, we had a conversation and it wasn't recorded. It wasn't meant to be. Let's do another one.
I remember you saying to me, Ryan, or you were curious as to what's your path? Where am I going? Where is this going? And there's kind of no way to teach let it go. Something that you kind of have to learn from being attached to stuff, from holding on to stuff.
We've known you lads years, since I'm about 12, and I do have to say, nuggets of wisdoms over the years, and just nice one for that, lads. One that's been thinking of quite lately. Sparky, I remember a few years ago I was talking to you about my dad, right? And I was just saying, I don't know, I just feel like he's getting older, and he's like, do you know what I mean, health and all. Bro, and this always comes up to me, go in there with a voice recorder and just hit record and get him to tell you the life story, just start from the start. Never done it, and he died like a year or two later. Do you know what I mean? And that's one of the things I'm just like, fuck, should have recorded something. Do you know what I mean?
And in the podcast that didn't record, I said to the young people, I actually said to a neighbour of yours, they were talking about their granddad has this recipe, right? And I was saying, go in with your phone and record him telling you the recipe. And I said, because I didn't want to say to them there, when he's dead, you'll be able to you'll have that recipe.
Well, you said it to them now.
There was an ad on where there's a guy listening to his ma talking about how to do the lamb in the oven or whatever, and it's a cassette in the ad, and I just thought, I'm going to do that with my own outfit. I'm going to do a podcast with him, to be honest. I'm going to get him to do it like this, where we get him to sit down and talk about, because he was talking to my niece today about crumbling in the 40s, and she was putting it into the group, the stuff that he had talked about, and I was like, I never heard him talking about that, so he's starting to remember stuff and to open up about stuff that he probably wouldn't have spoke about before, because I think there's an awful lot of shame from that age group. There's a lot of shame about poverty,
So the thing about your dad and not recording it, I was about to say, let it go, Ryan, but I don't want to be glib about it, but
it is that though. Do you know what I mean?
Because you can't
go back.
You can't go back.
Can't go back. Yeah,
you know what I mean. You can go on a journey inside and visit your bleeding your father that way.
Probably have done. You should take some mushrooms, Sparky.
No, emotional regulation.
Ryan Lincoln, aka the Mushroom King of Ballymun.
I do believe. See what you were saying about that it was written thing. I don't know if it's written, but I do feel like history and things, maybe past lives repeat themselves, and maybe be, do you know what I mean? You ever be somewhere and you just feels a bit familiar, like, because like I was born in Ghana, do you know what I mean? But I do feel it's just like wherever you can move somewhere and you can be raised there, but like, I don't know, like the older they get, and like you're saying, your dad's starting to have memories come back. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't know whether he's having memories coming back, but I think he's starting to. I think he's starting to open. There's doors opening there, and he doesn't have that. It doesn't have the veil of shame. You know that he's not ashamed of that. They were sharing shoes or sharing clothes or any of that kind of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? I do remember just what you were saying there about that thing and not recording your dad. I remember when JD died. I grieved. My main grieving with John was before he died. I actually was in bed one night and I couldn't settle, and I just started crying, and it was all about John. I started listening to music, and there's a certain album that night that I listened to, and it opened up wherever I needed to do. I opened up the portal, yes. and I began the grieving process before John died. You know, and I didn't know that existed until I heard it. I was listening to a podcast, and somebody was talking about that the exact same thing had happened to them. They had done the grieving for their mother while their mother was dying, you know, and I thought that was amazing. Yeah. But one of the things was, I remember when John died, and about 2 days later, I was thinking I needed to know more about Neil Young, right? And John was mad about Neil Young, right? And I was like, I'll never know this, right? And it was gone. And it was, you know, that. I also remember when Shane McTomas died, people said that a library had died inside of him, like, you know what I mean? So there is a part of what Dean says, like, that's gone, let it go, you know, and there's nothing we can do, you know. I think it does teach us to try and pass stuff on. But I think, again, that whole thing about I'm not in charge, like, you know what I mean? So, you know, what happens, you know what I mean? Like, the world was great before I was here, you know what I mean? And when I'm gone, it'll be great still.
It'll be a lot better.
Talking about, like you said, like the library, going with the person. I remember when Reese died and passed away a couple of years ago, and that was one of the feelings I just remember having. I was actually working in Newa Healthcare. I was living in the Twilight Zone for a couple of years there, you know. Was working with a bunch of people that had like intellectual disabilities and stuff and all, like. But I was working there in the night that happened when Reese died, like. And it was just a mad night. But I remember that being like the feeling was just like there was so much left to be done or to be told, or, do you know what I mean, to be created, like. And that was kind of what we felt was like the loss of, like, of course, me mate and all, but it was like stuff that should have been in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like, that can be a difficult thing about loss as well, I guess. But
the loss of things that could have been.
Could have been. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But you know, it's all kind of let it happen.
Yeah, it's like the Amy Winehouse story.
Right.
Wow, amazing work, and then gone in the blink of an eye.
100%.
And then you get someone like on the other end, like Tony Bennett, who's like whatever 100 albums. We can get attached to the outcome either way.
Yeah.
And that's the lesson is, if you can learn it, is it's going to be what it's going to be, and no amount of worrying or stressing over something is going to change the fact of what it is. The only thing that's going to change is get up and do it, get out, get creative.
Actually, so that's the lesson.
Take the risk, have the fear, and do it anyway. That's what enamoured me about you when I went to visit you in London, because you're in London trying to carve something out that you couldn't really carve out here, but maybe you can now, because the scene has changed here in the last 2 years in terms of acting.
It definitely has, and like in London I learned a lot of things, you know what I mean? So like that whole carving, I definitely carved something out, you know what I mean? Like I literally got back from London this morning, lads, you know what I mean? Lost me bleeding phone on the way, I throw it out there, but same as we're all about detachment. Fuck yeah. You know what I mean?
Let it go. 085.
If you find a phone with a picture of a black fella,
I love Ghana.
Black flu.
Written on the back. Did you say a black flu?
Edit that out. Yeah, I'm in the band, don't you know?
You said it.
I'm in the band.
Only Dublin people understand that anyhow.
What is mad is that only Dublin people, only musicians. But it was kind of, it was a love-hate. When I got to London, it was like 4-6 months, best thing ever, do you know what I mean? It's an amazing city, like the transport and all, it's cool and you're learning all that, but like everything, do you know what I mean? You start to see what's underneath the flower bed. So there's all that, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of learning in that. So I was kind of like, and I'm still kind of there, and like, I'm back and forth a little bit. Me and the acting, I'm like, I definitely want to stay. I want to get more into writing and directing, so I could probably do more of that there than the act. Like, I guess, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just, it's like everything is. There's a positive and a negative to it. I guess, do you know what I mean?
But you took the risk. You got out of your bedroom. You took the bleeding quilt off you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
For a couple of months, you put the spliff down, bought the fucking plane ticket, and went to the big smoke.
I was busy, like, you know.
That's a big thing. That's a decision. That's I'm going to be active in my own.
I was sick of sitting around. I love Ballymun and all, but I was sick of sitting around in Ballymun in the fucking with the four walls. Lockdown was probably to do with it as well. Now you lads that travel a bit and all, so I felt the wanderlust kick in. Do you know what I mean? And
what did you learn from London?
A few people watch Kin, so I was like,
a few people in London
fuck this
watched something I was in,
and that was a bit of a thing as well. I was like, so I was a little bit like, no, it's kind of like. You realise that we are still more connected than you think you are. Just on a lot of levels, like, there'll be times over there, and to be honest about it, like, you can feel isolated and alone and things like that, probably with anyone that moves somewhere new, but I don't know, you just realise that there's always connection there, do you know what I mean, if you seek it out.
What were you connecting to?
Just the people, the place, like, do you know what I mean, met a few, and like that, like, the realising, like, I actually have fans over here. It's like, you might be getting, like, the biggest roads or whatever, but walking down Leinstone High Roads, I came, the fame matching the, do you know what I mean? Like, so that comes back to, you doing it for the money or for the love of it? I'm realising that I think I'll do film no matter what. I do think I achieved well with what I've done here and all, but you stop giving a shit about being the best, do you know what I mean? Or wanting to be the best at it, like, do you know what I mean? And you just know it's about the work, it's about fucking the passion. It's about, do you know what I mean, enjoying it. It's about having fun. Obviously, you need to feed yourself, do you know what I mean? But it's like, if you have them things, the rest doesn't matter. Like, quite happy creating and living. And just that idea of, like, the whole, like, oh, this fella done that and he blew up in a year and he went straight into fucking the Marvel thing, or, do you know what I mean?
Welcome to the comparison channel.
Welcome to the comparison channel. And you learn to knock it off, do you know what I mean?
You learn to turn, yeah. Sparky taught me that one. Just tune to a different channel, because you will drive yourself demented. Nobody else is doing it, but we do it as a way of looking for that connection that mightn't be there, you know, personally or in relationships or with our family or whatever. We're seeking something out, but there's a few lovely cold lessons in it. Cold lessons, and that's the best way to put it. Like, they're just blunt, do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, and it's just about what you want. I was talking to one of the lads about this as well. He was having something similar with the music and stuff. And it's just about, like, I know this sounds a bit fucking wanky and cliche, but it's just about, like, are you happy? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I look at a lot of people in the rat race, like, acting on music, and they're not. From what you can tell, you learn to kind of get a pretty good fucking job reading these things, and I look at a lot of people in that, and I don't think a lot of them are happy, and I think it's because they're focusing on the end point and not the process or the journey. And I was learn to see myself and catch it before you get there, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I was feeling that. I was like, what's this all about? Do you want to do it just to be the most fucking famous, or do you want to? And then once you actually start to ask, like, where are these feelings and anxiousness and all that coming from? And it's like, yeah, it's because you're not actually present. You're not doing the thing. You're focusing on something that hasn't even happened yet. Spaggy explained that to me. There's like an anxiety about the future.
That's yeah.
What I say is, when I live in the future, I'm anxious. When I live in the past, I'm depressed. When I live in the moment, I'm okay. I'm here. You know what I mean? I'm living in the moment now, and I'm really enjoying it. You know. Now, is there things in the back of my head about could that happen? All that stuff happens, but I try and switch that narrative off. I was up in Donegal and I met this man called Robert Lintz or something like that, right? And Robert Lintz was cycling around. He was in his 70s, right? Fit as a fiddle. And he's on an electric bike, and he was all over Ireland, he was all over the UK, all over mainland Britain and all that kind of stuff. But he's cycling now from, I think, Germany down the Danube into Romania, right? And when he was leaving, he was chatting to me. We were having a chat. We were just talking about life and all that kind of stuff. And I said to him, what about those bits when you're on the road and it's quiet, there's no cars, there's no people and all that kind of stuff? And he just winked at me and he says, the joy is in the journey, Sparky. The joy is in the journey. And I swear to God, like, as I take that as my motto, as I take it with me, that phrase into me work, because, you know, like I work as a community worker, right? There's no 2 days the same in my job, right? And there's all the paperwork and there's all that kind of stuff, right? But there's also times when, you know, I'll be working with age groups and they'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake, I have to go in and work with these. And they'll have the best, I'll have a great, you know, program or whatever, you know, group or whatever with them. And it will just, I'll come out and I'll say, what was that about? What was the negative in me head before that? So I'm trying to tune that frequency out now. You know what I mean? To just tune
I
out
find when you do
voice.
that, you're most free and you're most creative. When you're in that space, when you're not thinking about shit you said yesterday or shit you're going to do tomorrow, you're more free. And when your more freedom connects with mine or somebody else's, that there's a third thing that happens that's not possible unless you collaborate.
A plus B equals C. Kind
A
of,
plus
isn't
B
it?
almost equals bleeding, you know, algebraic bleeding Roman numerals or whatever. Magic happens. The alchemy
gets
kicks
going,
in.
it gets
And that's
going.
what I love about the industry that you're in, which is the film industry, is basically the collaboration industry. And it's about people being right there, right now, going, okay, let's make magic happen.
See, so when I was a kid, right, I was about 14 or 15, I was in a band, you know, and I couldn't collaborate. That was me issue. And then there was a guy in a band in Dublin called One for Joy, and he was like, you know, he had a backing track. He was amazing. Pat somebody, but he was amazing, right? Pat O'Neill. I was thinking that would be the kind of thing that I would, you know, and it was before the time of, you know, the way nowadays, you know, if a person wants to create music on a laptop or something like that and create a thing, it's easily done. I couldn't even do that. Like, I couldn't create on my own and I couldn't create with people because I was so focused on the outcome. And it was only, and I'm telling you, Ryan,
Sweetheart.
like, it happened in Sweetheart, where I was able to just take that breath and just say, all right, so we're not doing that, we're doing that. It's this new thing has grown over, and that's where I am now. Like, I'm not going into work and saying, so for instance, in work we have a band, right? There's a group of young people, and I'm trying to kind of help them. But before, I would have been saying, we're going to learn 5 songs, and we're going to do that, and blah, 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 and give them all these goals, and then they wouldn't do them, and then I get frustrated and all that kind of stuff. What I do now is I say, do you want to do that gig? What do you want to do with the gig? And then it becomes their thing, like, you know what I mean? And I think what's happening now is that to allow creativity to happen, right? And not focus on, well, it has to have A, B, C, or D at the end of it. What happens is it just opens like a flower, and you're kind of looking at the flower going, I wasn't expecting that. You know, I wasn't expecting that. And I'm going to give you an example of it, right? We were in work yesterday, and one of the young people came in, and he was watching me teaching a young person play the drum kit, you know, and he was going, I'd love to be able to do that. And I said, well, sit down and try it, like. And he sat down and he just started banging out this perfect beat. And I stood there, there was tears in my eyes now, and I was watching it, and I was just thinking, he would have never have known that he could do that without this alignment happening. The alignment was nothing to do with me, it was nothing to do with him, nothing to do with, but the alignment happened, right? And then this amazing thing happened, and I videoed it and sent it to his dad, right? And his dad's very funny, right? And he wrote back, good, I'm looking for a drummer.
The thing for me in that is the feeling, because you were saying you were about, you know, you were at tears, but there's the feeling rather than the analytical mind to allow, because basically, Ryan, you're in the feeling industry. Films is about feelings.
Emotion and,
it's emotions.
you know what I mean?
It's that visceral feeling you get.
Creativity, isn't it? Like, and that's the energies from creativity. Like Sparky was saying there, it's like the change. And just think, when you said that, something clicked there. I think that's what creativity is. It's in the change.
Yeah, and there's the feeling of it rather than, because sometimes we can think ourselves into a bleeding black hole, going, I should be the best actor, I should have got that other part, or we should have done, like Sparky, you were saying, we should have done this project, but we should have done it A, B, and C way. Where if you let go to the wind a little bit and let the feelings...
That's where it happens.
And
magic.
sometimes with the community work, we're being asked, what was the outcome? And, you know, did the group reach the, you know, projected outcomes and all that kind of stuff? And you won't know for 25 years. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the truth.
You won't know till he's sitting in a room laughing at you
there you
going,
go, like,
I
because-
tried London and it was all right.
Guess so. Yeah, it was grand.
I'm 10 years in the job I'm in now, and Ryan, we went to Liverpool. They come up on my Facebook thing. That's
10
10 years.
years.
That's 10 years this
Didn't
week,
come
right?
up, on Ryan's Facebook because he lost his phone.
Undetached.
So, 10 years ago, we went to Liverpool and we stayed in student accommodation. It was for the Brew Ha Ha Festival. It was amazing. And these guys got up and rapped Miscellaneous, Linko, Little Dialect, Reese,
Warren Mullen.
R.I.P.
Oh, was Reese there as well?
Reese was there.
Wow, yeah.
Keith
Reese was
McMahon.
there. Megan was there.
Megan, Leah Green.
Leah Green, great singer.
Good bunch. Good
great,
bunch, lads. Shout out
great,
to the lads.
great crew. I tell you who was there, Mikey.
Mikey Peel, yeah.
was there, and he was deadly.
Should've
Like,
been the other
and
week, Mikey.
There's a great story about Mikey, and I was telling him about it the other day. I met him. 2 stories, right? He had an Aldi bag full of all his wraps, right? And I said to Paulie, pull one of them out of the middle of that, right? when
You
he's not
told me
looking,
this,
right?
yeah.
So he pulled one out, and that, and he got this little gem off a page, and he put it back in, and he said they were all doing rhymes, and they're all sitting around doing all these rhymes, and Paulie goes, "Why do you hear this one, Mikey?" And he bangs this one out, and Mikey's looking at him right, and he goes, "I have one very like that," and he's like, "I'm only had to think they're up and all that kind of stuff," but he was snapping. He was like,
I'm at a recording and copyright already.
His head was going,
Wind up
how
merchant.
could that happen? Like, So anyhow, they were in an Aldi bag full of rhymes, right? And we went down to Stanley Park, and it was tough. It was a tough gig, getting
I learned from that.
10 or 15 people together to one place to perform. Sometimes it rains and you're outside, and it's just all that the toughness of you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, a load of young rapper egos as well.
So now
Well, there was a bit of that too. So anyhow, we were in Stanley Park. It's beside Anfield, so it's a working class area, you know what I mean. So imagine being in Papa Park, right, and there's a rap thing going on or something like that, and then this outfella was walking through Stanley Park, minding his own business, right, after getting a shopping with an Aldi bag, right, and he's walking on the road, and I said to Mikey, "Your man has your."
He said they're rubbing on your raps.
And Mikey took after him on his toes,
All the spells.
and I'm roaring, "Mikey, I'm only buzzing." Mikey pulling them out of his hand. "Give me raps back."
So you were saying there at the start that you were always wanted to be in film, or you always wanted to be in acting. How far does that go back?
My ma's mates and all to say to me, like, "Oh, I'm not surprised, like, because fucking you were telling us at 3 that you wanted to fucking be an actor, like, you know what I mean?" It's one of the things I just remember, like, my dad had a few films like fucking like Terminator and fucking Life of Brian and Back to the Future and all these cracks, and that was me, man. We learned how to work the VCR, and that was it, like, just let me go.
Ryan, I just want to tell you this, right? Just if people want to look at Popping Through You Project, have a YouTube channel, right?
Don't do this.
And this fella and
Ryan's
Keith
showroom.
McMahon, this fella and Keith McMahon and a few other different people made deadly little videos when they were teenagers in the U Project. But this fella, yeah, he's, the people are right. He definitely had.
I just want to say, Sparky.
No, you definitely had something. There was definitely something. Like, there was definitely a sparkle. There was definitely something there. There was a spark or something.
We can attribute a lot of that to Dan, I think, do you know what I mean? And my older brothers, like, I just put that down to being lucky enough to fucking have moved from Africa, West Africa, Ghana, to be in Ballymun, Ireland, of all places, do you know what I mean? And the people that happen to be living around were just very creative as well, do you know what I mean? And I don't know if we got that from them, or we all just happened to be it, and we all just happened to had to meet at some stage.
Well, you lived next door to a bleeding amazing rapper.
Yeah, creative mind. Dan always actually said to me, because I remember, because he used to be on about the acting a couple of years before he died, he was like, "Ryan, why'd you give up the acting? You should have stayed at that." So I remember when I was about 10, we'd got in a role for a film called Kisses. We Lance Daly, like, and it was like lovely, just a little scene. Went to the premiere and the scene got cut. I was like, I'm done with fucking acting.
Yeah, that was a great film.
What age was
Great
that?
film, great film.
What
But
age was
the other
that?
thing is that
I was about 10.
How did you get that?
I don't even know. Do you know? I think they came to St. Joseph's, the school, and they were just they auditioned a few people in it, and yeah, they asked a couple of lads to fucking go for it. That was it, you know. I think it was a bit like, we grab a few little working classers to do the token working class lads.
Scumbag 1, 2 and 3.
1, 2 and 3. That was literally the scene. You was kick lumps out of them right in a container yard, and it just got cut, and I was like,
it was a great film. I remember the film. It was
an amazing
great.
film.
But just to say, right, like what you're talking about, Ryan, is that whole thing about that I was saying, the magic. You know, you had Dan, right? So Dan was, his rap name was Lunatic, or his poet name was Lunatic, and he was an inspiration to us. He died at age 24. He had a heart condition from birth, and his ma Bernie, you know, told me that it was an absolute miracle that he lived. He absolutely shone in a big burst of flame energy, right? And there's a great video of him when he's like 12 or 13 rapping on the stage in Finglas, and he has all the young ones behind him dancing and all doing all that. And it's all in unison. It's amazing. Like, and yet, myself and Dano's friend Terry contacted us one day and says, "Please do something for this young fella." Like, and I put Dane in touch with him. I knew Dane was into rap. I had no knowledge of rap. I said to Dane, "Go down and connect in with this guy." Terry had told us to connect with him, and you did. You went down and connected with him, and you started to manage and help and support him to create this album.
We set up a record label, actually, me and Grahamo.
What was it called?
Working Class Records.
Holy shit, yeah.
But we made an album which we went around the whole country in a van, and we recorded all the rappers in Ireland at the time, and we called it Homemade Bombs. And in it, Dan actually has a track where he says it kind of got rid of the American accents in Irish rap when he rapped in a Dublin accent. Yeah. But he got the Dublin accent from Damo Dempsey. But all the rappers were rapping in American accents. They were all trying to be something else.
Yes.
But one of the different things about Dan was, and this is maybe where determinism is coming in, is he knew that every day he had was magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knew that he had that privilege that, okay, I'm not going to be around here in 15 years, so whatever shit I need to get done now. No worrying about ego or fame or money or procrastination or collaborating or not collaborating. I don't have a fucking choice.
He didn't even want to sell the music. He didn't want any money for the music.
But he didn't have a choice not to do it, which was a lovely, refreshing thing.
100%.
Rather than trying to fucking coax him to do stuff. It was like, no, we're doing this. We have an album. We're recording this.
Unreal.
We're doing this.
He'd be telling you. He would tell you.
But very quickly, we went and done stuff that hadn't been done here before, other than Scary Era, like supported Nas, Kanye West, Snoop Dogg, all these types of things. Right. Put out albums, done mini tours.
Imagine what, I know it's always, again, we always said, let it go, we can't record the voice fucking now, but we think Dan would have, again, similar thing with Reese, do you know what I mean? It's that kind of...
Yeah, but look, Ryan, woulda, shoulda, coulda, stick it up your...
Guilty.
You're here right now.
Yeah. So,
no amount of worrying about the future or being paro about the past is going to change a fucking iota.
Stay off the haze.
The only thing that's going to change... You're saying stay off the haze. Get off the haze, reduce the use.
Reduce the usage.
The only thing that's going to matter is what you're doing, what you've done today, because there are opportunities today. Tomorrow we don't know what the fuck is going to happen. It's right here, right now.
Very true. Anything can happen. My uncle always says that, and I think the older you get, you do kind of realise it. That's one thing that's mad for me, lads. I don't know about you, do you know when you feel your mentality? Some people obviously mad mature from whatever different, but like when you feel that, I don't know, it's just the shift from, do you know what I mean? Like whatever looking at the world is like, and you're like teens and you're early, do you know what I mean? Like,
other than you saying, do you know what I mean, every 30 seconds. Right? Other than that, I'm looking at you going, you're a man now.
Oh, I'm at the getting that. I got that 15 minutes ago looking at you when you were talking about Ghana and all that.
You still have a little bit of, do you know what I mean, trying to explain yourself to the world, right? And that's all right.
The other side is fuck you, do you know what I mean? It's the balance out. I can go very fucking, do you know, so I try to be
go what you mean?
Too crowd sometimes, do you know? So like you're saying like that, the fucking like you're still trying to like do something or like have a bit of a filter on or something like that, you know what I mean? I find if we have the filter off, we can be fucking...
But we have an editing desk here, we can edit what the fuck...
I mean, a day-to-day life, do you know what I mean? A day-to-day life. So I'm still getting with that, like, there's the thing of just having unbridled, whatever the fuck, and a little bit of, I don't know what the word is, self-restraint or something like that, you know?
So do you think that, like, I think when I go into work, I have a mindset. I'm not. I'm watching my P's and Q's. When I'm hanging out with Dino and the mics are turned off, it's flat out, like, you know what I mean? It's slagging and it's, you know what I mean? So, so I think at times, you know, we act a little bit or we act a certain way, or, you know, like I was out in the 40 foot with Jonathan there last week, you know, and, you know, the people out there are very restrained, like, you know what I mean? And they were very morning and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, what's the story? I was
Mind your persona.
Twilight.
And you see, so, but the thing is that I can slag them, but I'm doing the exact same thing, you know? Like Dean says, we all know what's going on. Like, we all know
we all know that we're all playing a persona game.
Yeah.
We all know that. We all know we're all wearing layers of masks. We're not all fully aware why we're doing it or fully aware how to not do it. So what I try and practice is not doing it all the time. I find that's when I'm happiest. I'm least happy when I do the persona game or the mask game.
Do you meditate, lads? Much?
Not as much as I
Right
should.
in with the bleeding spiritual stuff.
I don't meditate as much as I should. Now, I tell you what I do.
I'm about to give the meditation up for Lent.
I sometimes just go home and sit in silence in the sitting room. It's like a Van Morrison album or something. Sitting in silence in the sitting room. I was just sitting in silence and I was talking to this man who meditates a lot, and I was saying to him, I find it really hard to do, you know, to do the 20 minutes in the morning. I'd rather have the Weetabix and the coffee. And he's like, and I said, but when I come home from work, I sit down and I don't turn the telly on, I don't do anything, and I just sit there, and he goes, that's meditating.
That's meditating. Going for a swim out in High Rock, especially on your own, that's a meditation. Deep. Getting on a bike and cycling 20 kilometres, that's a meditation.
Getting on the bus, being quiet, the headphones in through the countryside.
So I would try most days to meditate twice, and if I don't, I'm less happy, I'm less balanced. If I leave it for a week, just like leaving swimming for a week, I'd kind of pick up a lot of stuff from the world that I hold on to in my body or in my mind or in my heart. So I listen to Ram Dass for about an hour twice a day. At some point in the afternoon, because I'm not busy until 4, and then when I go home, generally in bed, like an hour before I'm sleeping, I get time to breathe and allow the massiveness of the universe just to wash over me. And I find that that's a meditation for me. When I get into a space where I'm not separate from everything, when I'm not separate from the universe, and my heart is open. Yeah.
And you're in it. You're in whatever it is, you know. And I think that it is different for different people, but there's like something we're all connected with when we do it in our own kind of way. I'm saying I don't meditate as much as I should, I don't think. I did during lockdown, I was meditating quite a bit and I was swimming all the time, and it was probably one of the best, now to think of it, like mind states I've been in. But it's like everything, do you know what I mean? It's like it's a balance between like, are you chasing that then or just kind of like, do you know what I mean?
You can definitely chase the high that you get from a really nice meditation. But then it's about finding the balance again, going back to the balance.
Exactly.
If you're chasing that high all the time, like any highs that we chase, well, what are you chasing it for? What are you running away for?
It's like the acting thing. It's like, are you trying to enjoy and get the most and do the best with the role you have and explore and learn more about yourself and the world through that? Or do you just want to get fucking into the next bleeding Spider-Man film?
And for me, what I've learned is shame and fame is the same thing. Laughing and crying is the same thing. Mm-hmm. I find the grace in both of them. And it's kind of like that thing especially in recovery. It's all the shit that you thought was the shit, which is the stuff that you learned from. We think that we're chasing the highs and we think that we're running away from the lows, but actually look at the shit. And this is what you're doing, Sparky. Look at the shit that you're adverse to, that you're running away from. And the peace and the clarity is when you're aware of that stuff. And then that will help you chase those highs less. Those big highs that you're looking for.
And I find sometimes it's like when you don't like chase, do you know what I mean? So I hadn't meditated in ages, and then it was like just whatever, I was just like having one of them weeks trying to lay off the old hazing and all, and it was just like right there a bit more meditation and all. Yeah, you're right. It's sometimes when you're not even looking for that thing is when something can happen. So we had one there a while ago and it felt like a bit of a trip, do you know what I mean? Do you ever have them? And so like
All the time.
still I'm looking at it as a memory, like this little experience I had meditating, but I find sometimes when I'm like, they were just every day at this time, in this spot. Yeah, I'm fucking meditating. It just doesn't really happen. It
doesn't work.
I mean, like, but when you just kind of go, whatever, you're at that place, like, well, you need to meditate and you just go with it and chill and like, yeah, sometimes something can happen, you know.
But if you're looking for that something to happen, the belief is that you're in charge of it, right? But you're not in charge of it, like. And the thing is it's about breathing and letting it go. And
You're not in controls, and be all right. Be all right
so
with that.
I have those what I would call breakthroughs or whatever it is. Like I've had loads of them, but when I thought that I was in control of them, you know, as you said, if I do it at this moment, at this time of the day, blah 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 blah, it just invariably doesn't happen. But if I'm open to them happening, if I'm open, which is the letting go, which is the I'm not driving the bus, I'm a passenger with this thing, you know.
But I'm also open to collaborating with whatever the fuck the universe.
You have to be open.
And I mean, even the collaboration, like for me to be open to collaborate with Dean on a podcast is, for me, right, as a very egotistical, in the past, a very egotistical person, right? For me to do this and not to be competing with Dean or not to be competing with you here, you know, like in the last podcast we had Kitty Holland in, and I kind of felt that I set back a bit because I wanted to hear what Kitty had to say. Whereas normally I want to be in there, I want to be saying the funny thing, you know, I have all my stuff going on. Like when I was walking through the door today, I had two things I was saying, well, I'm going to focus on these two things, and it hasn't happened. And that doesn't matter because what's happening is pure magic. It's absolutely because it's just happening. So I think, you know, you can have those little awakenings can happen when you're doing the work, like you're doing, like for me, working in the community, and you know, just little tiny little things. The young fella just picking up the drumsticks and all that kind of stuff, right? Are just pure little magical moments. And even there, like we're making a music room, like, you know what I mean? And I would have had that planned. Like, so the guy who was hanging up the guitar hooks, and he's saying, where do you want these? And I says, put them where you want, you know? And when I came back, it was done. And I was just like, that is deadly. And it was deadly because it's like me when I was 14 and I want to be in a band. I was focusing on what I wanted it to sound like instead of focusing on the joy of the journey and just jamming with people, and then whatever came out the other end was what came out, you know. So when you have a band like Talking Heads, they'll talk about the four of them playing music together creates that Talking Heads. When David Byrne does his stuff with Brian Eno, it's something completely different. And when they done the Tom Tom Club, which was like mind-blowingly amazing, like, you know, it just happened because I think that they were free to allow that to happen. So when I am open to the experience and I'm open to whatever, you know, you call it a plan or something. I don't know whether there's a plan. I don't know. I don't care, because I could trip myself up. I could get into that. Is there a plan? Is there no coincidences? Is there this? Is it? Whereas if I just go, it is. It is what it is. And I'm happy in this moment. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be with my two buddies. We're talking. We're recording the podcast, right? If by any accident the record button isn't pressed, happy days. Like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because what's happening between us is amazing. It would be great for other people to experience it or to listen to it. Yes, because people have been giving us feedback saying that the podcast is steady, like, you know.
Yeah, and this, what we're doing now, is Anthony DeMello, I think, or John Powell, or one of them, would call this peak communication, where we're really free and honest and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, and we're not trying to impress or perform for the other person. We're brothers in here. Yeah. And you get excited when you get that feeling. That's when the hair stands up. That's the alchemy. And
Oh, yeah.
you go on.
I was literally about to say that.
But you this came from when you showed vulnerability because you said, "Hey lads, do you meditate too?"
Did I say it like that?
No, but you know what I
Am
mean.
I the only one?
Why are you
Usually
meditating?
not.
Why are you meditating with your Mickey in your hand?
That's a different form of meditation, right?
That's masturbation.
But you allowed us in there, Ryan.
Custodians of the space, do you know? I'll tell you, a mad one then I had. Right, go on. I was meditating a little while ago.
Go on, we're not twisting your arm. You're doing this of your
This
own
is me
free
talking
will.
to me, bro, right?
Yeah, convincing yourself.
This is the, so we found that there's self, there's inner self, and then there's higher self, right? That's another thing. So I was doing the meditation, and it was just one of the days, it was just like, oh yeah, it was like higher self kind of meditation thing, and I hadn't done anything like this in a while. Like that, I was just like, you'll go where the head is wrecked or whatever one night in London. I never really have stuff like but this profound, but it was like, I was listening to the instructions and all, I was like going through it. And then like, one night I just started having flashes of like me with a mott in the field with a kid, a young fella, I think, do you know what I mean? And we are like walking through this like field up a hill for ages. And then like, we got to the top of the hill. And I was like, right, I'll be back in a bit or something, do you know what I mean? And kind of they were like, right, go on and come back to us. And there was like a bit of a portal or something, do you know what I mean? It felt like there was a bit of a fucking thing that I had to go into, like, go through. And then I was just like, really kind of went towards that, like, and then I just remember having like a vision. Do you remember the old Castle pub there at the back of Charlestown?
Yeah.
Vision of me when I was about 5 with the brothers and all, standing down. You had the chain link fence, you could watch the planes taking off at the airport and all. It was just there, it was just in that moment. I was like, oh. And then I turned around, like, and then it was the age I am now. And I was just sitting down, do you know, on the bench that they had me there with a point. It was fucking, do you know what I mean? I was turned around and then my dad was like, come on, you have a point. I was sitting down. I don't even remember what we were chatting about, really. He was sitting there. I just remember having a little sip or two. Had a point and he just put it down. I was like, right, go on. Kind of like, it was like I had to meet something or like the higher self, do you know what I mean? It was like he was kind of like breaking the ice or something, do you know? He was like, come on, chill out, have a sip at a point.
And this was without psychedelics.
Bro, so that was my point. No weed or drugs are needed.
The chemicals are within.
Do you know what I mean?
If we allow them.
Yeah, like Sparky was saying there, like, do you know what I mean, bro? Like,
And there's a nice bit there where I was thinking that your dad, like, you were probably frustrated or blaming yourself or annoyed at yourself that you didn't record your dad.
Yeah.
But then close your eyes and do some breathing for an hour and your daddy's right there.
He's there. We believe anyway, and and this is like, it's very easy to say these things, like, I believe, and yeah, the ghosts and all, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like sometimes you have and it's not like I believe, like, you can just do the secret knock and you can have, but you know what I mean? There's certain moments in your life where you'll just feel a little connection and you feel it.
I used to think it was funny, and I probably made fun of people who picked up white feathers and stuff like that, or who seen robins in the garden, and they might, like, they would plant in our tradition, in our family, there would be rose trees planted when people died, like, you know what I mean, and then there would be that kind of connection to the person through that. And so I used to kind of giggle at that kind of stuff, but I also like when you were talking about that vision you had, Ryan, I have them all the time. I have them all the time. I have them in waking, and I have them in. And I don't take drugs, exactly. and I don't do any mind emotional or anything. It just happens, and sometimes it frightens me, and there's sometimes that I absolutely go with it, and I love it. And I think that one that you're talking about, holding the child's hand, I had that one too, right? And I thought, I'm going to be a dad. That's what I was thinking when it, and then I actually realised it wasn't. It was me, you know what I mean? And it was,
you were a child, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's times when, like, I find myself being childish, like, you know what I mean, emotionally, like when I'm dealing with a situation and I'm going, why do they not have to do it and I have to do it? And then I kind of go, okay, so then that's the child, right? That's the child in me kind of, right? And then I have to, as an adult, say, you're going to be all right there, Sparky, relax the kicks. Everything's going to be grand. It's just something that you have to do. And I used to, when you're a kid and when you're watching adults, you let go and you let them do, like, you know what I mean? So they booked the flights, or they booked the, when we would have went on holidays as kids, I didn't have to book flights, I didn't have to do any of that because the adults done all that stuff, right? So you let go of that. You just let go as a child, you let go that you didn't have to do that. So on the flip side, when the child's voice is kind of going, well, why do I have to do it? And they don't have to do it, and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Like, I remember fixing a bike with my little brother. I have a brother who's 20 years younger than me. And we were fixing his bike, and I said to him, turn the wheel down, Michael, you know? And he goes, why do I have to do everything? You know what I mean? And I was like, so when I hear that voice in myself, when I hear that
you catch it now.
I just say to myself, you're all right.
Yeah,
Don't be worried about it. I have it. The
Where
adult
before
has it.
you didn't, before you ran with it.
Oh, I'd be just absolutely resentful. I would hate that I had to do this, or it's like, when Ryan was talking about the acting stuff, and so and so only did a year, and now they're Superman or whatever it is, or they're Spider-Man or whatever, or Marvel or whatever. I was picking up on that, like, you know what I mean? That in me, I was getting, there were times in my career that was times in, that I wanted to do things and it just didn't happen for me, like, and I'd be like, how come it happened for her and it didn't happen for me? And now I kind of go, it wasn't meant to happen, or it isn't meant to happen, or let it be, or whatever it is. Like,
I find that from meditation gives you that space to breathe and get in between the gaps of you having that thought and then reacting to it. Yeah, and then you're reacting, and it's all reaction. And the meditation, for me, the initial part of the meditation is it slows down the chatter in the mind and all the feelings and emotions, and it gives you a space just to observe or be aware of the thoughts and emotions that you're having. And then you can choose, am I going to run with this or am I not? You get a space to choose there.
It doesn't stop. Like that child that I'm talking about happened last week, right? That child will happen. That will happen again.
No, it's not going to stop. It's not stopping, but you can get in there before the reaction.
But I won't always. I won't always have that awareness. I won't always have those tools. There's times that I'm going to mess up. There's times that I'm going to tell somebody to fuck off, or there's going to be times when I say the wrong thing, or I'm going to
fucking epiphanies now.
Yes.
Have you got any epiphanies, lads?
On peak. Do you know what I mean?
I done an epiphany moment with a young fella. The two of you know, I won't mention his name, but we were standing out on the plaza in Ballymun, and this fella's, he's been battling with addiction for the last number of years in Ballymun, and he's in a really nice group now, and they're nice people, and they're all kind of looking at their stuff. And he was saying, "Oh, I want to go and do like a massage or a Reiki or something like this, you know what I mean? Because I need to get out of my head and into my body." He's at the learning this, that getting out of his head before to him was doing drugs, but now getting out of his head and into his body is something that he can do. He can rest his mind in. And then I put my hand on his belly like that, and I said, yeah. And then in underneath your belly is that little boy there, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you can go and have a bleat and chat with him and give him a hug and open up a relationship with him. And he was like, "That's bleeding deadly." He said, "I really feel that." And I said, "I know, that's your heart. That's where all the love is."
Forget that swirling, you know what I mean?
And that little boy or that little girl that's the wounded little self is in there.
Yeah.
And part of the journey is one, being aware that that's all fucking right.
And it's not always wounded. I mean, there's times I need to hear that inner voice that's a bit crazy and a bit mad. Saying, "Go for it, Sparky. Don't." You know what I mean? Do it, don't. Exactly. And again, like even us, like doing the podcast, I don't want to keep talking about it, but I'm absolutely in love with it. Like, I'm absolutely having a great time with it because it's so energizing, and the feedback from it is so positive. Like, you know what I mean? Now, I'm sure along the line there's going to be somebody saying, "Oh, he's talking about his inner child," or something, and there's that negatron. But I'm slowly but surely filtering that negatron out, like, and I hear it around me all the time, but I slowly but surely kind of, I'll twiddle some kind of valve inside of my head that just goes, "No, I'm not going to take that
business.com.
It's none of my business." Do you know what? And it was one of the things when I first came into recovery was, you hear these people who are around a long time, and they say stuff to you like, "What's he talking about?" And they say, "First thing you do is shut your mouth and mind your own business." I remember saying it to my mum one day.
Can't tell me to
No, I
shut me
said it to my
mouth.
mum one day. She was talking, and I said, you know what, man, you better have mind your own business there. And then she was telling me sister, then he told me to shut me mouth, maybe. You're like, no, I'm
You're
trying
not
to tell you. It's a spiritual thing. It's it's an amazing thing that when you actually, like I've been in situations recently, like, and you know, my first go-to place is say something here, Sparky. You know what I mean? Put your R in here, like, you know, you have to do this and that and so. And sometimes the first thing I'm thinking is the wrong thing, right? And I sometimes then I'll just slow that down and I'll say, walk past. And sometimes when I walk past, I'll get a little call in. Here's Sparky.
Yeah.
And then it's a different vibe. It's not me going in with the two horns, like pulling in and going, you know what, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes when I'm quiet and going past, it happened to me yesterday, like there was a couple of lads out doing that thing, like, you know what I mean? And my thing was to shout out and start slagging them all that, right? And I just gave them a wave and they said, come here, we haven't seen you in ages. And it was beautiful. It was just savage. And I actually got to meet them as adults. I wasn't looking at them and thinking, judging them and saying, well, they shouldn't be doing what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. I didn't get into that. We just had this beautiful energy between us where we were speaking to each other as adults, like, you know, and they were telling me stuff and I was just accepting it without going, oh my God, that's disgraceful, that shouldn't be happening. It was just like, it is what it is in this moment. Happy days.
So now what I think helps with it, and I just think we all have a bit in common, and just talking about with the meditation, sometimes you have them moments, it's a little bit like, you're just learning to think the swimming for me, I call back the, if you're having a moment and you feel like the anxiousness are coming, and then I'll just think, I said, man, you'll float in the Irish fucking sea.
I remember myself and Lee went down and we found this place in Balscadden. We climbed down these cliffs, like, you know what I mean, and we got down to this spot and we were like, we were at the, like, it was like as if we had found this tropic, whatever it was, like, but it was this magical place. And first of all, we were only learning to swim and we were swimming in an old concrete bath at the bottom of these cliffs. I learned to swim properly in that thing, and then we moved over there and we started diving off rocks and stuff like that.
Ryan, you said a few things there that kind of clicked with me. One was you kind of said the word home, and then you followed up with swimming. And I think sometimes swimming is literally my bleeding home. But I'm just wondering for you now, because you were in Ballymun, then you had a little stint down in outside of Dublin, then you were over in London, now you're back here, or, you know, are you, aren't you? So you're originally from Ghana. Yeah. So where is home, or what is home?
My butterfly then, I exist in the both worlds, do you know what I mean? On all worlds. And home is where the heart is, isn't it? For me, I definitely do feel the connection with Ireland, do you know? Like you're saying, I came from West Africa, Ghana. Me and the family, it was too, I think. So you got that being in other places and visiting things, and like there's obviously where you're reared and where you're raised and all, but I definitely feel a deeper connection to Ireland, I think. And then the more you look into African history and all, it's so many parallels, do you know what I mean? Like
both colonised by the same traditions. And you look at, I was watching it wasn't Tommy Turner, he was acting in it. It was a show on TG Carter. Philip Doherty directed it, but anyway, it's like, it was a real abstract thing. It's like Tommy Town, he's going around walking through the town and he's just meeting all these different characters, not too dissimilar to bleeding. He's saying those Irish stories, like, you just have to go with them, you just be in the strangeness, you know. And he's just meeting all these different characters and stuff like that. And there's a section in it where it's like a dream world you go into, and your woman's walking, she meets all these characters running around, they all have costumes on and masks and all this. She decides to follow them, right? So she follows where they're running after, and then they end up on the street. And what it is then is actually, it was just a bunch of lads that there was an old tradition in Ireland around the Christmas time. It's basically Christmas carols, but before it was, do you know what I mean? And you just went around in costume and you'd sing songs and do jigs and all. And I was like, that's fucking Africa, do you know what I mean? The stuff they were wearing and the dance they were doing and just the whole ethos behind it, I was like, that's like tribal Africa. So I just feel the connection between them two, like, big time.
I remember being in Africa and, you know, you're going up, we were up in the mountains, like, and the kids were playing banjos, right? Now, the gas thing was, right, so I was with Darren Caffrey and he's a funny fucker, you know. And they'd have instruments that were fashioned from junk. So they'd have a guitar neck and a banjo body, and then strings over. And he was calling them a gitanjo, right? But they would get the most amazing sound out of these kids, and they would sing. And I was looking at that, and then you'd see a drum and it was just a bowron, you know what I mean? And you're thinking, all our traditions are different but one. When I first heard Burundi drumming, and I heard it through Adam and the Ants drummers were talking about that their beats were from Burundi. So I was listening to Adam and the Ants punk and you know new wave or whatever it was, right? But then they were saying this is from the Burundi drummers, and I was in Claddagh Records, right, as a kid, and I seen Burundi drummers, and I bought this, and I'm playing it, and it's just all ba boom ba boom da 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 ba boom da 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 da, and me dad is probably saying, this fella's gone off the fucking banana. He's listening to all kinds of mad shit up there, right? What's going on here, right? I remember playing it one day, right? Playing the Burundi drumming, right? And RTE was on downstairs, and there was uilleann pipes coming up the stairs, right? And at some stage when I was walking out of the landing towards the jacks or something like that, they fused, right? And I could hear that connection between, you know, the drumming and the uilleann pipes, right? And I stood on the landing going, man, this moment will never ever happen again. This is like, you couldn't reproduce this, right? And then there was like, I think there was an Irish band that did fuse African and Irish music together, and I can't think of them.
Afro-Celt Sound System.
Afro-Celt Sound System.
So there's also those other lads, the Asian Dub Foundation.
Yeah,
I was mad into them when I was a young fella.
So was I, and we met them. Do you remember we met them? They were doing community stuff, and we met them in the City Arts Centre. But what I'm saying is that no matter where, like, people in China will string instruments together, people will always create, like...
You got onto me a couple of weeks ago going, Dino, come on, we're all going to Africa and we're all going to do creative stuff.
It's going to happen.
And I was like, yeah, that's great.
Think about it.
You're 28 years of age, go and do it. If I can help in any way, I will.
Let's do it, lads. Let's do it.
But do it, grab it by the bollocks and run with it and go home. Go home to that lovely place. And I think you have to go and do the journey into whatever you think the other thing is. Like, you went to London pursuing acting, you have to do your 40 days and 40 nights and learn the fucking lessons.
40 days in the desert, yeah, absolutely.
You have to go into the wilderness, that's why it's there. You have to go out and think, I can conquer the world, and then the world kicks the bollocks out, you lick your wounds and you start again.
You start again, you leave the village with them lessons learned, do you know what I mean? And you have to find that. It's not the hero's journey and we all go through it. You have to go learn the lessons to bring them back, do you know what I mean? Pass them on.
So Ryan, welcome home.
Thank you, brother.
Brother, you're a man now. Do you know what I mean? I'm looking at a man. I'm looking at Ryan Lincoln, the man.
Oh dear.
And it's fucking... There's a lot of potential.
We got it going.
Thanks for coming in and being our guest at very, very short notice. I grabbed you out of the gaff.
Thanks for sharing the podcast, by the way.
No worries, lads. It's a fucking amazing resource, and I think people should be tapping into it. And
what do you think of the podcast?
There's a lot of podcasts out at the moment, do you know what I mean? But there is something unique about this one, and I think that conversations that need to be had, they are being had, but they need to be had in the open, and people need to be able to tap into it, and I think that's something you're providing, do you know what I mean? It's that platform, that stage, pulling all the threads together.
I'm feeling you're at the really putting words on it there. Like, I don't know what it is that's happening, but I love it, and I'm absolutely honoured, and I'm I feel blessed or whatever it is to be part of it, like, you know. But I want it to grow, like, you know what I mean, and I'm willing to just let it become what it is, like, you know what I mean? So
I realise I'm in a position of a privileged perspective as what I would consider now an elder. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think you can only put that stuff out that you picked up, that you learned along the way, not as a way of kind of shaping people, but just going, by the way, did you look at it this way? Did you have a look at it this way? Because it is difficult enough on that journey, and you're kind of midway between, you know, you're a 28-year-old man.
I'll see the old twilight boys, do you know what I mean?
You're a 28-year-old man, you're no longer a young boy, you're a man now. And if I can in any way add anything to that journey or for anybody else's. That's what kind of why I'm here. I've had such an amazing journey. I just want to throw out the little gems every now and
lads,
again.
I'm excited now. I do think there's a lot of good seeds have been planted, and you can see them starting to bleed and sprout up, and it's just there. It's just bleeding. Like you're saying, not clinging on, not trying to see it should be going here, but just hold on to the energy and go. Go with it. Go with the journey.
And Ryan, thanks for adding to us. And I mean, I don't mean that just about this, but I mean, there's times that you've come back into the U project and stuff like that, and you've added stuff to it, like, you know what I mean. And I've always kept in touch with you because I think we are brothers, like we are part of the same
family.
Or whatever,
our
family.
I mean?
Oh, you've seen that tonight when you came in here into Ballymun tonight. There was a group of about 20 people who kind of went, "There's Ryan. Let's go over and just tell Ryan he's amazing."
It was
good crack though. I was standing back a little bit going, "That's nice."
See, what happened was when I met Ryan, his energy was low. You know what I mean? He was kind of like, "Oh, here, I'm just going to chill out tonight." And I'm saying, "Come up and do this." Like, you definitely, you love it, like, you know. And I encourage him, and he came up. And then we come in the door, and all those people went around him. I was thinking to myself, he's going to kill me, right? But what happened was, it took his energy up.
Episode 6, a fresh batch. Ryan Lincoln, yup,
lads, love yous.
Here, fuck off, will you? Fresh, yeah?